All right, so been a while since I've done this. Hercules: The Legendary Journey, Season 4, um, which has kind of caused me to reevaluate a little bit of how I did the show in the past. The ways I was talking about it was a little bit more seriously, and it's kind of a point to where just the entire series is a joke, but not in a bad way. It's just a very tongue-in-cheek style. This is Sam Raimi stuff in a lot of these areas, so you just kind of have to go with it. This season is particularly interesting for a lot of the alternate episodes that they do, or just kind of breaking off and focusing in on secondary characters. Um, what happened with the season when it was coming on was that at the time, Kevin Sorbo had actually started to undergo some health problems, and he had to take some time off from the show. And so they kind of whipped up some episodes on the sides to kind of fill in on the time that he was recuperating. I think he had an aneurysm, I want to say. Been a while and can't remember. Somebody please correct me if I'm wrong on that. But a lot of alternating going on in here. Now, for the stuff that does go with Hercules in this season, there's some very hysterical moments that are going throughout a good portion of the season. Um, the opening episode in particular, because we bring back Autolycus, and this kind of kickstarts Bruce Campbell becoming more attached to the show, at least in this season, and I think some of season 5 too, and also with Xena. There's this. The first episode is kind of this Jack and the Beanstalk story with Hercules and Autolycus climbing up to the top. There's a deal with some harpy eggs. They put a spin on the giant. Actually winds up being Typhon's brother, Typhoon. Completely hysterical stuff. And there's even kind of some of these side episodes with some of the principal actors changing up and becoming these other characters, like Aeolus becoming sort of this kind of doing a pre-Tyler Perry Medea skit with the Madame Twinkie, or the Widow Twinkie, dance troupe. Some stuff done with Simonius and Autolycus in there is completely slapstick. Really, that's all this is very tongue-in-cheek, and sometimes a lot of laugh out loud moments going on with it too. Um, we'll also bring in some more serious stuff with this. Aeolus actually gets a very dark episode as the second episode of this season. We do get a little bit more serious with Hercules, especially at one point when they kind of call in the question, and it kind of does it in sort of maybe a Superman stance. A little bit about how he's kind of inspired others, and he's actually put on trial when a guy that was pretending to be him is killed, trying to do something heroic, and a lot of the people call into question his role as a hero. Um, Hera, still the big Hercules baddie, is kind of downplayed through this season. And they start using Ares. Well, they've been using Ares quite a bit, but they start using him more, and then they kind of bring in. We bring back Strife, and we get introduced to this chick that also works for Ares called Discord, who I'm not really a fan of. Just, I don't know. Basically, all she is a dumb female sidekick for Ares who just happens to be a little bit smarter than Strife and is kind of unnecessary to me. One dumb goon is enough, and that should be the end of it. Um, we get some stuff with introducing the Sovereign, who will pop back into the series occasionally as basically an alternate dimension version of Hercules. Basically, accounting for everybody that's in Greece at the time, there's this other dimension that exists where they have either a good or evil counterpart, depending on how the mainstay uh, characters are. And there's some pretty funny stuff and some role reversals that are done in here in some slapstick style. No complaints about that. Um, a couple other things I would address with this. There's a two-parter in here that kind of gets dark in a sense and does kind of a little foreshadowing for the 3 episodes at the end of the season. Because basically what that is a time travel episode with Callisto being sent back by Hope, who is Gabrielle's daughter that she had with a demon. Is sent back to kill Hercules, and we kind of get to see Alchemy as a young woman, how she met Zeus and all. Kind of some interesting stuff, and Ares is kind of forced to step up into a role of saving his brother, which is an interesting direction to pull him in. Because that's kind of a qualm with me. If I haven't seen Xena in a long time, and I never really saw much of the I'm going to say at least until probably the 4th season when I started watching it as a kid. Recently, I finally got around to watching the 1st season of Xena, and I'll do a review on it. But this kind of the thing when it was airing, since these are both shared shows, if something is happening in one show, sometimes they'll carry it over to another. Really will hamper on you if you're not watching the other season of Xena at the same time that it's going with Hercules. I kind of know what's going on with it, but I don't know entirely what happened over there, so you might be scratching your head wondering what's going on, which is kind of the same thing I forgot to mention with last season with what they did with Callisto. And there's some really good stuff going on with Zeus and kind of setting up, at least for what I remember, the start of the problems that are going to begin in between Hercules and which will eventually kick off sort of his own version of a world tour once season 5 rolls around. But all in all, this is really a good season of Hercules. Still another high stride for the show. Does have some problems with it, at least if you're watching this one show and not watching Xena, that might kind of be a problem to you. But otherwise, this is a really good season of the show. Aside from what I talked about, there's really no complaints with it. It's just good, and you should have it.